And we head to this. Oh, man, he's going big man. Oh, my God.
Haters gonna hate. What?
All right, as we do each and every week, we look at Ernest and our top 10 and bottom 5 power rankings in the National Football League. If you're following along with this video, you'll see it on the screen. If you're listening on audio, none of this right screen, left screen will matter. But Kyle, make sure you are only looking at the right-hand side of the screen. EJ, who's your bottom 5?
We got a newbie in the bottom 5. We got newbie. Number 28, the Chargers. Yes, Brandon Staley, you're out of here. 29, the Cardinals. 30, Patriots. 31, Commanders. 32, Panthers. So basically, the bottom 4 teams here were here last week. Pats and Commanders swapped one spot. Pats winning against Pittsburgh, obviously. The Chargers, they're done. Herbert's out for the year, so that adds to that too as well. So pretty easy.
I don't have the Chargers in my bottom 5. I don't hate it being in your bottom 5. I have the Raiders in. Like, if you're trying to fight for your playoff lives and you score exactly 0 points against the Minnesota Vikings, who only scored 3 points, you belong in the bottom 5. Otherwise, I have the same exact 29 through 32 as
they are actually 27. And the only reason they didn't go in there is because of the Herbert season.
That's fine. I'm certainly not arguing the Chargers there. If you had the Steelers there, I wouldn't argue it. If you like, there's a couple other teams that I wouldn't fault you for having it 28. Yeah, but I just, my God, Raiders, you're pathetic.
Would anybody pick the Raiders and Raiders Chargers right now?
I mean, probably pick the Raiders. Probably
you would pick the Raiders over the Chargers. Right?
Who's the Chargers quarterback now? Who is the backup? Do we even know?
Some dude. What's his name again?
On supporting cast alone, and the fact that they're not reduced to Antonio Pierce at coach. Granted, they still have Brandon Staley. I get it, but like, and no disrespect to Antonio Pierce, what he's done with this group in a short time is great. And then they went out and scored 0 frickin' points.
So they are starting Easton Stick this week, and if he doesn't stick, they have Hacksaw Max Duggan. Okay.
First of all, you have a guy that trained Daredevil in Marvel Comics and a wrestler who's amazing. Hi-oh! How on earth are you not picking the Chargers here? You're the problem. Jim.
Is that the Max Duggan?
Yes, it is the Max Duggan. You also have a banged up Keenan Allen. You have a banged up Gerald Everett. You have a banged up left guard. You have banged up pieces on defense for the Chargers. Like, here's the thing. If I have to pick the Raiders and the Chargers, I'm picking a 0-0 tie and the world loses. That's what I'm picking.
Who loses here? America
loses.
Two things here. The Raiders, the Chargers have quit on their team, number 1, and Staley sucks.
The Raiders haven't?
The Raiders well, yeah.
They scored 0 points against the Minnesota Vikings.
Fair point.
I don't even want to have to think about picking.
But they got a piece of coach. So
that being said, just like
Homer,
that being in stereo, by the way, and that being said, EJ Christian still not mad at your bottom 5.
Hey, there we go.
That bottom 5's fine. Wait, the Raiders and the Chargers play this week, by the way.
There you go. So the loser gets 28.
You gotta fight.
I guess we'll find out. EJ, who's your top 10 this week?
All right, here we go. Top 10. Number 10, the Broncos. Number 9, the Browns. Number 8, Dolphins. 7, Jags. 6, Lions. 5, Chiefs. 4, Eagles. 3, Cowboys. 2, Ravens. 1, Niners. I really, really want to put the Bills in top 10. I really want to do it.
It's not.
You
time.
shouldn't yet.
But I can't. One more week. Yeah.
Here's the deal. I have the same number 1 as you, and I have the same 4 through 10 as you.
So we're on the same page.
Homer.
And I gotta be honest with you, like
unapologetic.
Raven Cowboys feels like 2A, 2B, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not
going down that road.
I think the Ravens would destroy them. I just do. I don't know why. And I'm willing to admit I could be wrong. I'm waiting for it, Jim.
I mean, I think you're
fuck you, Kyle.
I think your hatred on the Cowboys is as much as my homerism on the Cowboys.
I don't know. I don't think that's fair at all. I've shown the Cowboys respect when they deserve it, and then they went and lost to the friggin' Cardinals. But listen,
I guess teams aren't allowed to have a bad game. The Ravens lost to the Steelers, but okay.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, I mean, we could all.
What? No? Wait. What?
Eagles lost to the Jets. Okay, I'm just saying,
bad
bad games happen, man.
To your team and ask what they have. Are you not entertained? And I'll leave it at that. But the punchline is, so you took it here, Jim. Anyway,
I mean, the Ravens also had to go to overtime against the Rams. They had a 10-point win against the Chargers. They had a
that has no faith in John Matthew Stafford. I'm just saying.
I mean, but shouldn't, if a team is that great, shouldn't, I mean, the Cowboys pummeled the Rams if we're going to play that game.
Well, that's how inconsistent they are. But here, listen. Here's what I'm saying though. Like
inconsistent.
2 or 3. Sure, I think the Ravens are correctly 2. I'm not a homer. I'm not mad at the Cowboys at the top 4. I'm not mad at the Eagles at the top 4. The Chiefs are too high. But Kyle, who would you put ahead of them? I know you're going to say it because you're a bitch. Here's the thing.
It's so fucking mean, dude.
I think, and see, here's the thing: the Dolphins losing on Monday is what kept them out. I guess what I'm
every team outside of Denver, outside of Denver and Cleveland, every team from 4 to 8 lost. This week.
That's my point. And
right. I wanted to drop the Chiefs and I couldn't.
There you go.
Because thank you, Lions. Thank you, Jags. Thank you, Dolphins.
But the Browns, listen, I don't know why the Browns are only 9 right now. I said it.
I actually don't hate that.
All right. They have a running back in Kareem Hunt. Their offense is still serviceable. Their defense, I keep telling everybody, they're the most underrated in the NFL, and EJ Christian proves it right here by putting them only 9 in the top 10. You should at least have them at 7 ahead of the Jags, and I can make a damn fine case to put them at 5 or 6 right now. Because here's what I know. The Browns hasn't lost 3 of their past 4 friggin' games like your Chiefs had, EJ Christian.
Wow. I don't hate that at all. Like I wanted to lower the Chiefs more. And I didn't.
How to do it.
Jim, I want to lower the Chiefs more. I want to lower the Lions more. I want to lower the Jaguars more. I want to lower the Dolphins more.
I just gave you the formula.
The Browns are the only team. I guess to your argument, the Browns are the only team that you make a case for making going higher. Everybody else under the Browns.
Right. So I mean, it's and maybe I'm just going, really, Joe fucking Flacco, I'm not trying. And I get it. They have weapons, they have a good running game, and they have a great defense. I get that, but part of me is going, man, if Joe Flacco plays the Chiefs are going to figure it out, right?
Will they?
I mean, one would think, right? But the Chiefs, they haven't. And I get it. The Lions have been struggling. The Jags have been struggling. The Dolphins are overrated. I get it. But, it's hard for me to be yeah, Joe Flacco, baby, let's go. It's hard, Kyle.
That's why it's not. And as I've told you on this show, and I've said it on the Duval Dive and everywhere else, I know it's Joe Flacco. I've never thought he was elite. There are people out there that have said so and have been wrong and still regret it to this day that they professed the fiction that is Joe Flacco as an elite quarterback. But here's the thing. At 1 billion years old coming out of retirement, he's still an upgrade. Who gives a shit who it is? He's still better than the alternative. And that's the goddamn point.
I mean, I look at the Browns. They lost to the Rams last week. They lost to the Broncos. The week
Ravens
before.
lost to the Rams, sir.
I'm sorry, a week before this past week.
Got you. Okay.
So weeks 12 and 13, the Browns lost to the Broncos and Rams. So that's why even with the teams ahead of them losing, I'm struggling to go, yeah, Browns would definitely beat Dolphins, Jags, Lions, Chiefs.
Okay. Well, I mean,
and that's why I have them at 9 for me, not higher.
Well, and part of it for me is punitive. You lost to the mayonnaise Messiah and the Titans. you don't belong at 8. The Jags, I need to see your injury report, but before I put you in the top 8 right now. I can't do it.
So the highest of the Browns goes what? 7? You said?
I can make a case for as high as 6 because of the way the Lions have struggled.
Okay. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
You can't refute it. That's what I know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable doing it.
I can't put them at 5 because they've beaten the Chiefs head-to-head. I could do it on a technicality. I'm not going to, but I could.
What this proves, though, is that especially this year, we hear this all the time in the NFL, but this year is proven to be true. This is definitely a week-to-week sport.
As said by Foye Oluokun, the linebacker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I saw personally in the locker room, say that very thing 5 weeks ago, and you could find that on the 3-Point Conversion YouTube channel.
I mean, it's something I've kind of been saying for a while that that I don't think, and now we're seeing like Niners, Ravens be the like, I hate to use the E word because I fucking hate it, but I'll say it for lack of a better one, elite teams in the league. And then you have like Cowboys, Eagles as like the next tier right now. And then there's a lot of everybody else, right?
There's a lot of parity.
And I've said for a while, and maybe I use the wrong terminology, that there's more bad teams than good teams, but there's more competitive teams than like separator teams. Maybe that's like,
I gotta be honest.
Then there are Panthers. I get it.
Right. Like, yeah. So like once you get past the top 4, there's a grouping of 6, 7, 8 teams that like on a week-to-week basis are gonna get into that conversation, and they're also going to see themselves back out of that conversation.
Right.
And then there's teams towards the bottom, like we know Panthers, Commanders, Patriots, Cardinals. Those are like the worst of the worst, right? And then there's a grouping of teams. It's like, look, if you want to put them at 28, yeah, they probably freaking belong there. And then there's like just that couple, like that little pocket that's in like the 17 to 24 area that you're like, they're nowhere, they're not in the top 10, but they're not among the worst. And that's just what we're looking at. It's groupings of teams.
This is why the NFL is a great league. A, B.
Of course.
This is also why I make a point to mention I'm rewarding a team or I'm punishing a team.
That's fair. Yeah.
So,
to be honest, I know you hate the word elite. To me, it feels like there's only one elite team really is the Niners. Like even the Ravens, even the Ravens that have questions with still bigger picture. So
that's fair. But and again, the Niners are 1 or 2 injuries away from being not what they are.
And well, yeah, exactly. That's the question for both the Niners and the Ravens. If Trent Williams goes down, they're screwed. If Lamar Demetrius Jackson goes down, they're screwed. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should be applying for Trent Williams to have 3 names.
Applying. Fucking do it now if we beat your ass.
And here's the thing, like for the Cowboys, like I think you are a like Brandon Cooks or Jake Ferguson away from being in a lot of trouble, because what they've given to this offense has helped the emergence of CeeDee Lamb into a number 1, which has helped Dak Prescott do what he's done this year. Because when you look at the last couple of years, you had like Michael Gallup and Jesse Brown and a whole bunch of guys that don't catch balls there, and they didn't also catch balls when they were receivers in Dallas. Like, so what the undercard on that Cowboys receiving core has given this offense means a lot as well. So I think all of these teams, including the 49ers, are, they're a key injury or 2 away from being right in that mix of like good but not great.
Which is why
the Niners are the greatest as of right now.
Which is right now.
And the reason I say I hate elite is because it's overused. It's an overused trope in sports media. That's what I hate about it. It's not that the Niners aren't there, or that the Ravens, you want to argue them as they're fine. It's not that they're not. I hate the word because it's overused.
You hate the word because your Cowboys aren't. Anyways.
Not yet anyway.
But I will say this much, though. Like, my Super Bowl bubble has increased to 5 teams now as of this week.
I thought it had been 5 teams already.
It was four.
Did you take the Ravens out?
They're still in there. They've been in there for like about a month now.
So who's the 5th team? Because I'm assuming Niners, Ravens, Cowboys, Eagles are 4.
And Dallas now 5.
So the Chiefs are still in there?
Yeah, still in there.
I don't think.
Despite that.
Okay. I
The
can
Chiefs
get
could still be a 12-win team when it's all said and
So
done.
that's fine, and I get they're there because they're like in your mind they're the biggest competition to the Ravens.
So let me clarify for the listeners real quick. When I do a bubble, this is what my mind is.
No.
Do I see this team playing on Championship Sunday?
Gotcha.
Not Super Bowl Sunday, but Championship Sunday. That's the new contender. I still see, even with all the Chiefs struggles, I still see them playing for the AFC title this year.
I mean, the history book would tell you have no business putting the Cowboys there until they actually win in the second round.
I think, but I can see this Cowboys team. I mean, hell, I predicted them to go to Super Bowl this year, but I can see this Cowboys team playing.
I had nothing to do with this crime.
No, he already
crime.
did.
I said this in August, though.
He already pissed me off.
I've been since August. I've been saying this shit. I think
you backed off of it lately, and now you're back on that ish. You backed off of it. The Cowboys have spanked the Eagles, and now that that's happened, you're back on the proverbial horse, cowboy horse. See what I did there?
He's on Jim. He's on Jim. I hope. Not me.
What's that?
Thank you. Jim there, not me, right?
For what?
But the cowboy horse and backing off now.
You're back. You stopped talking about the Cowboys in the Super Bowl a couple weeks back at least.
They weren't in your bubble 3 weeks ago.
They were they were not my bubble at all this year.
That's my point. Yo, they were in your bubble.
Oh, let's start the year.
The
Niners loss took them out.
I see what you did there, Jim, and that was brilliant.
The Niners loss took them out. And then they need a quality win. They got the quality win finally. This last 2 weeks, really, be honest, you guys still think Seattle's a good team, so they got 2 quality wins in a row. And there you go. I think, and I remember I told you on our brackets too. We did a student game podcast back in August. I had Dallas beating Philly in the divisional round in Philly as a wild card. So my game.
I mean, let's be fair too. The loss by the Cowboys to the Eagles in Philly was by 5 points. And like
by 2 yards,
lost
and 2 yards,
and I'll still debate the Luke Schoonmaker touchdown, no touchdown, but that's neither here nor there. You can't go back and change it, but I mean the Cowboys. I thought the Cowboys were the better of the two teams. They lost, which sucks, but like I thought they were better than the Eagles. It's just they flinched in the final 3 minutes.
So my argument for the year started was that I believe that the Cowboys and Eagles were a little more even than people get credit for. My issue with the Cowboys is getting through San Francisco, but I've always thought.
But okay, no, you don't get to turn around and make my point that I just fucking made.
I've been saying for 3 years now. What are you talking about?
When?
Exactly. I think San Fran 2 years ago in the playoffs. I mean San Fran last year in the playoffs in Dallas.
That's not you making the point this season of, hey, the Browns are going to make the Super Bowl. Buddy, you're assuming they're going to beat the Cowboys, or excuse me, the Niners in the playoffs at that point.
Well, that was my prediction when the year started.
You haven't read a fucking history book.
Do I think, okay, look, do I want to be right? Not necessarily be right.
Nobody said about want. I'm just
do I think right now through 14 weeks, will the Cowboys beat the Niners to play in Championship Sunday? Probably not.
Then, in the words of Brad Pitt in Moneyball, my friends.
But do we? But this is the problem, though. If we make a prediction, okay. I had the Bengals in the Super Bowl before the year started. We all had the Bengals.
But to your bubble point, them being against the 49ers on Championship Sunday to you means they're in the bubble. That's what you mean.
They're playing for the title game, for the right to go to the Super Bowl.
That's what you mean when you say in the bubble. It's like you're, and I get what you're doing. It's a discussion point. Congratulations, we're discussing it. But like it's the CJ
content, baby.
It's the CJ Stroud MVP candidate thing. You're not saying he's going to win it, but you're saying that like now injury and all of that aside, I think he's unfortunately found himself out of the conversation a bit.
So what he's done is thrown Dan Campbell under the bus because that's why that's possible.
But like your argument a couple weeks ago was that he's gonna in your top 5 at the end of the year. So he's in the discussion. He's not gonna win. He's in the discussion. The Cowboys aren't gonna beat the 49ers on Championship Sunday, but they're there. That's what you're doing. And I get it. I see what you're doing.
And for the record, this is all a fluid conversation. Things change. Injuries happen.
For sure.
We had the Bengals win the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's gone.
And here's the thing. I am not sitting here today thinking that the Cowboys can beat the 49ers in an NFC championship. I'm not going to say that. It would, in fact, surprise me sitting here between weeks 14 and 15 if the Cowboys did. What I am saying is I think the Cowboys today are a better team than they were when they played the 49ers. Brandon Cooks has become a part of that offense. Jake Ferguson has become a bigger part of that offense. Kevontae Turpin has become a bigger part of that offense. Stephon Gilmore has made a bigger name for himself in that defense. Deron Bland has made himself a bigger name in that defense. So, like, I think Dak's playing with a different confidence now than he was then. It doesn't mean they're going to beat them. I just think the Cowboys are a better team in week 15 than they were in week 5.
They are 100%. They are. It would be a shame if the Niners were only just as good as they were then.
Well, and again, that's a great point as well. But if I'm looking at the Cowboys' ability to get to that weekend, because here's the thing: for me as a Cowboys fan, obviously want them to win the Super Bowl. Not that is always the goal, right?
I'm not even pushing the homer button.
But for me,
Homer.
Like I want to see them get past their first or second playoff game. That's something that hasn't been done since 1995-96.
Buddy,
get to the NFC title game.
If your Cowboys, if you and EJ's Cowboys win a second round playoff game, I don't give a shit who it's against. I'm happy for you.
Like, that's what I want. Get to NFC title game. Maybe by some stroke.
You know the weird part about the AFC though is that while they're not in the bubble, because Miami is so explosive, I can see them any given Sunday beating a Chiefs or beating one of those teams in the middle together. Wait, you wait. You can never wait. You mean tell me there's no chance you can see the Dolphins on a random Sunday in the playoffs beat either Kansas City or Baltimore?
Not
on
with
a random
injury being
Baltimore, no.
And by the way,
we will know in 2 weeks though, Jim.
By the way, the Chiefs have already beaten the Finns exactly as you would see, and that was before there was concerns about Tyreek Hill's health.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, the Dolphins play the Ravens in 2 weeks. Here's the thing: I could see them getting into a battle and beating the Chiefs right now, with where the Chiefs are. I mean, it's going to be a shootout. It's gonna come down to who has the ball last or who makes the bad decision.
I think it's going to be a sloppy game, and it's going to be. You're right about who has the ball last, but I think it's going to be another. If you set the over under at 36, I'm taking the under.
All I'm saying, the AFC is a little more wide open than people give credit for. That's all I'm saying. There's no juggernaut. Like, to me,
have the ugly friend at the club that is the NFC. That's why.
No, what I'm saying is that. Well, we're talking about separating two conversations here. Like the NFC.
No, we're not. You just said they're more wide open than you think. I'm telling you, it's because of the psychology connected to looking at the NFC and being like, "Good Christ, this conference is awful. Anybody could get in." Oh wow, that's a lot tighter. You actually have to have a winning fucking record to make the playoffs.
I think it's because the thing we've just talked about is the NFC is if we're talking about a getting to championship weekend, right? I think we're talking it's a 3-team battle at this point.
In the NFC. In the AFC, what, 2 teams?
Like in the AFC, like outside of Baltimore, I think there's cases to be made that almost every team who's going to make it into the postseason can find a way to beat their opponent.
That's my point.
And yes, that's where I'll
got to play someone.
Yeah,
play someone in that conversation.
Whoever,
especially if the Texans and the Broncos get in, right?
To your credit, Jim, the Broncos are that dangerous team you're talking about.
Or if the Bills finally figure out a way to unfuck themselves and not lose games in the second half, they have the roster. I don't think anybody's debating the talent on the Bills team. That's never been the issue, right? Like, the ability is finishing games, and take away Kadarius Toney's left foot. The Bills would have found themselves back in their normal position on Sunday, right?
We keep crapping on the Bills, but let's remember how many defensive injuries they've had. Like
they have, but to be fair, you gotta play with what you have right now.
No. What I'm saying though is over and above other NFL franchises. Sure. That's what I mean.
Right. No, like I said, AFC, like I said, it's going to be a very. I think this last month is going to be the most fun we've had in football probably in a matter of years, because normally around this time of year for recent years, we kind of have an idea who's what. We're not quite there yet. Like obviously we know in MC you have the 3 teams on top, of course, but even that has some positioning things going forward. This feels the parity here is so pronounced here.
Parity
more
in the
than ever.
NFL this year is
So
probably
pronounced.
the highest it's been in a while. Injuries have played into that for sure.
Yeah.
Weather in a lot of these games have played into it. Officiating, unfortunately, and especially to Kyle's point earlier, the consistency of which has been an argument I've had for multiple seasons. Like
this panel has been consistent about arguing about.
So and that plays into it as well.
Right.
But yeah, the parity across the board is certainly certainly the biggest it's been.
I mean, the only problem I can think of in the month of December is now EJ is going to use the word must win at least 5 times a friggin' week.
Well,
it does apply.
He was doing that in week 3, Kyle. So it's not even
week 3. That was week 1.
It was only 3.
I was doing that. I was doing that during training camp. We talking about?
That's true.
Bills Jets.
Otherwise, top 10. Like I said, I have 2 and 3 switched. Otherwise, I have the same exact thing.
All right.
So I'm not really arguing much.
All right.
Y'all really loved my point about the Browns, though, don't you? Bullshit.
I do.
I did. It was a really solid point. All right, guys. Let's